Hi, and welcome back to Bounce Forward with me, Tiff. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders, past and present. Today, I have Genevieve Day joining me on the podcast. She founded Day Management, one of Australia's first digital talent management agencies, in 2015. She has been recognised for her work by the Australian Financial Review Fast 100, and she was named in Forbes 30 Under 30. In 2024, her debut book, The Juggle, launched, interviewing well-known founders and business minds on how they mix career and family while sharing her own story as both founder and mother. Jen, welcome to Bounce Forward. I'm so excited to have you here. Now, you're the author of The Juggle. I want to ask you, what does your life look like juggling your career and your gorgeous little son, Henry, now?
Oh my gosh, it is such a juggle. And I think it's something that every working mum and even stay-at-home mum can relate to. Basically, at the moment, my son is 14 months old. So he's at that beautiful stage where he can't communicate, but he loves to try and be independent. So that in itself is a fun day-to-day challenge. And I run an influencer marketing and talent agency called Day Management as well. And we have a team of 8 employees. We look after over 50 talent. So quite a big business in that capacity. So we try and, smush everything into each day and definitely don't do it perfectly.
Wow. How do you, what's your childcare situation? How do you juggle that, for example, just the practical side of it?
Yes, and I love talking about this because I think from the outside, everyone's day looks so perfect. And how are they doing it all? I have him in daycare 2 days a week, and then we have family support 2 days a week as well, which we're so lucky and privileged to have our parents willing and able to look out. And then on the Fridays, my partner and I kind of do a split work day and a Henry day. So basically I have 4 days a week of full support. And then get 3 days of beautiful Henry time.
That is a juggle itself, just juggling the schedule of childcare and carers around work juggling. So there's a juggle on top of a juggle, isn't there? It's just so difficult. I want to go back to your pregnancy. What was your pregnancy like?
Yeah, we started trying, I guess, a couple of months after we got married. We always knew we wanted to have a family, but I've been running this business now for 9.5 years. So we knew that it wasn't as simple as putting in your request for mat leave and having a baby. So we kind of approached it quite pragmatically, thinking, all right, so if I'm going to be pregnant out of the game, not as, able to do as many things because I have a baby. So we actually employed a general manager in the business and kind of tried to time everything around the pregnancy, which is also really hard to time when you're going to fall pregnant. But during that process, we were kind of putting these steps in place to have support and help with the business. And I also just felt this overwhelming fear that this impending baby is going to get in the way of all my career ambitions, and everything I've been working so hard for was going to, come to a halt. So while the pregnancy itself was lucky and to be straightforward and not too many complications, I kind of felt like I had this big ticking clock of the 9 months of I need to get everything done before this baby gets here because who knows what's going to happen with my career.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I felt that myself when I was pregnant with my first Arnold. I was running a online fitness business and, I had staff relying on me, and I thought, and plus I do all the fitness videos myself, and I had a big, horrendous pregnancy. So I was like, how am I going to get back into work? And I remember sending emails from the hospital after I had Arnold. I was working from the hospital bed, and I regret that, and I didn't do it with my second. Did you take maternity leave?
It's so interesting that you say that you regret that as well, because I was the same. Even though I had the best laid plans and had all this extra hands on the business and support, we had some things pop up with work where I was doing a contract negotiation and I'd given birth 12 hours beforehand. And my birth was a little bit prickly. I actually hemorrhaged and lost almost 2 liters of blood. And so I wasn't in the best situation to be emailing about a contract dispute, but that was kind of my reality. And a lot of people that I interview in the book said the exact same thing that you just said, that they took no time off. They went straight back into it out of a fear of necessity or that scarcity mindset that, other people will get opportunities over us if we don't say yes to everything and be available. And I think that's something that I also really regret, and I would definitely do that differently.
What have you learnt from being a working mum now? Like, what are the biggest lessons and takeaways?
That's such a great question. I think perspective is such a beautiful gift, isn't it? The second that you have kids, you're like, okay, life isn't just about me. And that's brilliant. And I feel like pre-kids, you're able to be quite selfish and you just think about your own schedule and what you want to do. And now it's not about us at all. It's all about the baby. And it's kind of been like a beautiful shift of perspective, especially in my work life. Things obviously are important, but you walk in the front door and you have to leave that all behind, because I'm like, I can't be stressing about this. I have a 14-month-old demanding 5 Weet-Bix right now.
Yes. Can you switch off? I struggle. I really struggle. Like, I've got work group WhatsApps and they go off constantly 24/7 because online, as you know, never sleeps.
Yeah.
And I find myself like checking it in between, like getting a meal, getting a snack, like putting her down. My youngest is 2. I don't know. Can you switch off? Do you struggle with that as well?
100%. And it's so tricky being in this online world because you're always available and, campaigns go live at 8 p.m. at night and someone's on set filming and you have to be contactable. So I'm actually really bad at that too. And I think I catch myself in those moments where I'm like playing with the Fisher-Price farm, but I'm checking my phone at the same time. And I'm like,
yes.
Oh, the cow says moo. I'm actually emailing about something at the side. So I would like to be a more present parent with that kind of stuff, but it's really, really hard.
It's really hard. Do you have any tips for like balancing that side of things, work and your beautiful child? Like, how do you do that? Do you put your phone in a drawer and just go, I'm not looking at it until, an hour or so?
I should do that. I feel like I should really throw my phone out the window sometimes. But
yeah.
I think I almost do the reverse where I try and run my personal life like a business itself. And that in a way is allowing me more balance because I get to then structure my weeks. And even if it's personal time, like booking in something for me, like a Pilates class or booking in time with my husband and everything like that, if it's scheduled the way that my work life is scheduled, I'll actually stick to it. And then that way I can kind of get that like 360 view of the week and think, is this balance? Or have I tipped too far to work? Or have I not done enough to tick off my career goals this week? So it's definitely not perfect, but I find if you run your home life like a business and, outsource what you can and see where you can put your energy in the most valuable places, that's really helped me.
That's really good advice. Yeah, outsourcing, big fan of it. What are some of the things that you've outsourced that you think, oh, that's a bit weird? Like I outsourced indoor plants, like got a plant lady to come over and
I love that.
Put plants all around my house, so I just felt like more oxygen and just it looked beautiful. But that's probably the weirdest thing I've ever outsourced. Like, what about you? What do you outsource?
Definitely food for us was a big one, especially starting solids. And I was reading all the books and I wanted to be like, I really wanted to be that mum who was doing the organic bone broth for 7 hours on the stovetop. But I was like, I didn't have the time.
Talk to me about it, yeah.
Yes, and I love it and I love all like the science behind it. So we just bought like the Le Puree packs. So they have all that in there. And it was amazing. And so things like that where I can make life easier but not feel guilty that I'm like shortcutting, nutrition and anything else like that too. It's massive. And then also we got a cleaner and like that's a luxury again and a privilege. But I'm like, I don't have time at the moment to be scrubbing toilets. It's
a waste of your energy.
Yeah. And I know not everyone can do that, but we kind of were like, where can we budget and like cut and trim to allow that expenditure to spend more time as a family and quality time?
Yeah, I love that. So when my husband and when I got pregnant the second time, I looked back at like my previous mistakes of like not taking any time off and just I rushed back to exercise. I got a few injuries and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I said to my husband, Ed, we're going to do like a mental wellness plan going into the next pregnancy, and we're going to know exactly, how to prepare for life with a baby, what support we need to give each other, what support we need to outsource, like all that. And I listed everything and then I circulated it to grandparents and friends, and everyone knew when they were on pickup for Arnold. My son is 7, at school, and, it was a bit of a roster. What what things did you talk to your partner about when you were preparing for the baby and your career, and, you know, what sort of conversations did you have with your partner?
Yeah, I think the luxury for us is that my husband also works in the business now.
Oh, so that is amazing.
It was so great because it meant we're on the same page and like building to the same goals. Whether previously it's like trying to build two big careers at once. And it's like a wrestle then, isn't it? It's like, well, I need you home at this time. And he's like, but I've got a big meeting as well. So that was a really tricky thing before he joined the business about 2 years ago. But we had a lot of conversations about rest and about time off, and I stupidly worked until I was 39 weeks pregnant.
Oh my God.
And I also I just looked so ridiculous. It's quite comical looking back. And it's funny because I got this phone call in my pregnancy saying, do you want to come and host this industry TV show? And I was like, oh, dream opportunity. Like, of course I'd love to do that. They said, great, we'll film in September. And I said, oh, my due date is September 10. But yeah, I'll do it on the 1st of September. So I put myself in those situations where I was, saying to my husband, we have to rest. We have to put time aside to rest. But then telling other people, of course I'll do this opportunity, because what if they never ask me again and I've lost my chance? And so I really went against my own advice and my own planning there. And I probably had about 3 days of maternity leave before the baby got here. Which wasn't enough time. And then similar to you, I kind of worked in the hospital afterwards as well. But I think we tried to structure a couple, 8 weeks of maternity leave with the baby. And it was quite funny. I said to my husband, I actually just can't even talk about work. I need to just be completely shut off from it. And that was the rule, because I can't do things half-half.
The baby bubble. Yeah.
Yes. And I really wanted to be in it.
Now I'm just going to leave my chat with Jen there and come back with part 2. Thanks so much for listening to Bounce Forward. I love having your company, so please DM me on Instagram at tiffhall_xo and let me know what topics you'd love me to cover. Don't forget to rate and review me on the podcast app. Speak soon. Happy days.